guys, and welcome back to Beauty in the Bookcase. So, I was filming a different video and it was going atrociously, and so I'm going to scrap that and do something entirely different. So today I'm just kind of going to look at some weird slang from around the world. And the first one is actually from Australia, and it is sort of like a shortening of the word afternoon. So apparently they say arvo. So, you know, if somebody asked you if you wanted to do something this arvo, they're telling you this afternoon. Where that came from, I'm confused as to where that V sound came from. Came from. Maybe it's like afternoon and evening. I don't know. If anyone from Australia is watching and would like to explain, please do. The next one is actually an entry from Sweden, and it's actually, I would say, quite useful. It's the word Fika. So it comes from their word for coffee, and it's kind of used to convey the idea of a coffee break. So getting a coffee and a pastry. So if somebody wants to have a Fika, this arvo with you, they just want to go and have a little coffee break with you. And to that, we always say yes. The next one is a bit disgusting, if I'm being completely honest with you, but it's also interesting, and I'm just confused as to where it came from. So it's Polish, and it's paw, spelled like paw, like an animal's paw. And apparently it's when somebody needs to throw up. So it's supposed to mean like letting the peacock out or something like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not just confused, I'm slightly offended because I love peacocks, and like any normal person, I hate vomit. So I don't know why they have equated these two. Poland, you have a lot of explaining to do. Tell me, why have you ruined such a beautiful animal with such a disgusting thing to do? Now, the next one actually comes from Georgia, the country, not the state. Important difference to make. And it is, from what I could tell, it's kind of hard to find audios in Georgian, but it's shimamajamo. Essentially, shimamajamo is like when, you know, after Thanksgiving, when you're like stuffed and then somebody goes like, but there's pie, and then you still eat the pie. Shimamajamo. You use it when you're just like, oops, I already ate all this, but I'm gonna eat some more. Our next entry comes from the lovely people of France. So of course it's gotta be something incredibly sassy. So, you know, sometimes you'll go to like a cafe and then there's like people who are just kind of like doing work there, but they're not really buying anything. They'll have maybe like one coffee when they first get there, and then the rest of the time will just be like water or something they can get for cheap or free. And you know, you're trying to do whatever, you're trying to have your coffee and have a little chat with your friends, but like all the tables are busy, and this person who's not even drinking coffee anymore is just hoarding it, right? They're hoarding this table. And so the French have, of course, rather majestically come up with a term for this, which literally translates to lord terraces, but essentially it just means, you know, people who, like lords, you know, kind of stake their claim over a place and just won't leave. And that, my friends, is Seigneur Terrasse, Lord of the Terrace, essentially. And speaking of really random words that nobody knows why they exist, we actually have an entry in English for once. I know, shocking, me doing something about the English language. That is because the wonderful word obscuatulate exists. And you might be wondering, what does that mean because it sounds kinky? Well, get your minds out of the gutter. So obscuatulate is actually to leave suddenly. I've also seen it be defined as to die suddenly. So I guess, I mean, technically if you die suddenly, you do leave suddenly anyway, so you know, obscuatulate is right up there with my favorite words alongside defenestrate, which, if you don't know what that word means, it means to push somebody out of a window. You don't have to waste time explaining the action when you can just be like, I'm gonna defenestrate you. Another one that is actually used quite often, actually, in Spanish, it's more of an expression. It's not just a word, but it's dejar plantado. So dejar plantado a alguien, or plantado, well, it literally means to leave somebody planted. It kind of refers to essentially like being ghosted. Like, let's say you and somebody made plans to meet up and they didn't show up. Or somebody said they would call or text you and they didn't call or text you. So kind of like ghosting. Except there's a chance that they'll actually come back with a decent excuse. But they still left you there, and it was pretty embarrassing. And this one you might actually be familiar with. You might have heard it on TV. For example, I know I've heard it on TV, which is Chutzpah, which is Yiddish. If you don't know what Yiddish is it's sort of like a mix of Hebrew and German. And now, while I've heard this word before, even in context, I wasn't entirely sure what it meant. So apparently, chutzpah is to kind of be cheeky, you know? But it might also be almost like annoyingly so. Kind of, I feel like it's, from what it seems, because it says impertinent beyond belief, it kind of feels more like being bold, you know? Like somebody who just kind of is very off the cuff in how they talk. The next one, when I found it, I was like, wow, me. So, as I've mentioned before, the reason I haven't really been uploading lately is because I've just been really crazy busy with work. And the Japanese have a word, karotsi, which means death from overwork. And I was like, wow, Japan, you really do get me. And speaking of words that just hit me right in the heart, the Chinese have a word, which is shengye, which means, well, it literally translates to leftover girls, but it's essentially people, in this case girls, who are well educated, but they can't find a romantic partner. And lastly, arenaceous, which is literally an English word, I know, English, for somebody who resembles a hedgehog. Whether that is supposed to be a compliment or an insult, I don't know, but do with it as you will. And that has been it for today's video on some pretty weird words from around the world. So, do you guys have any words in your own language that are kind of strange that I didn't cover today? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And of course, hit that notification bell to know exactly when I upload on Wednesdays and Fridays. I'm gonna, again, try and get back into my routine, and I will see you guys next time.